All right, I want to hear. What did you think?
Delicious.
Okay.
It's a little sweet for me.
Yes.
It's very tasty.
Yes. So if you're doing this at home, you would put a little bit of berries, and you would not and you do an avocado to get the creaminess. Yeah. Okay. What'd you think?
It's a tart sweet.
Yes.
See, I don't like sweet.
Mhm.
Yeah, this I like.
So yeah, could you see doing it at home? All right. Okay.
Now, what made it sweet? The banana? No, the mango.
The mango would make it tart.
What'd you think?
I really like it. It's really refreshing, but you don't really taste it like a fresh food, but it's really tastes refreshing.
Yeah, and you don't taste the greens, right?
Yeah, you
don't taste the greens. So, and kids love this.
I have a lot of greens in my garden, and boy, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, great. Yeah, and you can make up a big pitcher, and you can keep it in your refrigerator. It lasts a couple of days. So, all right. Now we're going to move on to kale chips. I love kale chips. I'm going on a trip tomorrow, and so when I get home, I'm going to prepare some kale chips because it's my travel food. So I always just, when I have greens at home, especially if I think, oh, I'm going to be away a long time and these are all going to spoil, what do I do with them? I'll dehydrate them, I'll make them into chips. And so that's what we're going to do next. I'm going to walk you through the process of making kale chips. There's a very easy way to do this, and that's with a salad spinner because it serves a lot of purposes and it makes it fast. So if you have one of these, you could do it without, but I'm just going to show you how to use this. So the first thing you do, now an easy way, these are already pre-cut, but if you were starting with just your kale, this is a great one to use to make kale chips. So you just tear it off. You tear off chunks because you don't want, see this big stem? You don't want that. You just want to have, you tear off bits of your kale and you put it into your rinser. You're going to rinse these. So you have to do, and let's assume it's all done. Okay, so now we've run it under the sink, and we're going to coat it with oil. So you don't want it dripping wet. So therefore, you'd want to find some way of drying it, and that's why I like using a salad spinner. Okay, so you've got now, I don't have too much in here. I would want to fill this to the top with all this kale. Don't be afraid of using a lot of it. Okay, you've got your kale now. And then you just take a bowl and you dump it in. And the next thing you're going to do is massage it with some oil. And the best oil you would use would be olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. And just massage it. So there's no real, in the recipe I gave you, I said 2 tablespoons, but if you want to use 3, don't be afraid to well coat it. So you just want to make sure that you're coating it with your olive oil. And then if you can use salt, you would put a little bit, like a pinch of sea salt. Always use sea salt, never table salt. And then you could use chili powder, you could use curry, I've used thyme. You could play around with whatever spice you like if you choose to. And that's it. Then you put it on a baking tray. And you just, it doesn't have to be, some recipes will say don't crowd them and just evenly lay them out. That takes forever. Don't do that. Just dump it on the tray, put it in the oven. The oven should be at around 200, or if yours goes to 250, if that's the warmest, that's the lowest setting. It should be on a warming setting. So you're warming. You're not really cooking them. They're at a low setting. And just leave it there. And you check after 20 minutes to see if it's crisp. If it still has a soft spot, then it's not done. You would maybe leave it in another 15 minutes. Another way of doing this is in a dehydrator. That you would let go for like 5 hours. That you're basically just warming it. So if you have a dehydrator, that would be a way to make chips, but you don't need a dehydrator. You can just do it on the warming setting in the oven. Okay, and then what happens? Let's say after 20, 25 minutes, take it out, and this is what you get. And it's crisp, and it's a chip. So this is, again, it's wonderful to snack on. It's a great way to eat kale if you're not used to kale. So, is there one brave soul who would like to come up and try? All right. We'll get you to taste. Okay. Now, this one I made with chili powder, so I just want to warn you that there's some chili powder. You can just tear off just a little bit, but it's crispy, right?
Yeah, it's crispy.
All right. What do you think?
I don't like chili powder, but
you don't like chili powder. You would like it just with the plain salt, or maybe curry powder, or nutmeg, or other spice that you like. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that is kale chips, and thank you so much for participating. Is this something that you could see making?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. It's very, very easy. So we're going to do a very, very easy stir fry. The first thing we do when we're doing a stir fry, so okay, we're going to turn on the heat, and you always want to heat the pan before you put your fat, your oil, in it. So you preheat it first. And what we're going to use today is this. So anybody know what this is? And it's not chicken fat. Not schmaltz. Yes, it's ghee. Thank you. It's ghee. What is ghee? Clarified butter, yes. Years ago when I used to cook, I was trying to be a gourmet cook and had all the Julia Child recipes, and I would remember standing with I had melted the butter and skimming off the milk solids. That's clarified butter. You could also buy it already prepared. A lot of supermarkets now carry it. It's been used for thousands of years in India to cook. This is, again, don't be afraid. So I don't want any of you thinking, how many calories? Is this fattening? Is this bad for me? Is this going to cause a heart attack? This is a saturated fat, but it's good for me. If you're dairy sensitive, lactose intolerant, it's great because they've taken, when you skim off the milk solids, you have removed the lactose, the casein, anything that people who are intolerant to dairy would have a problem with. But it has a very high heat point, which is why we're using it, because with a high heat point, it means that it's not going to break down. So we have an assistant here, and one of the things that's great with I'll stir fry with greens is garlic and onion. So this is Michelle. Thank you for coming and being our chef. Would you chop up that onion? And when you chop up an onion, one of the other things I've recently learned is you can use the peel for something. So when I'm making a stock, I will throw it in with the peel. For this particular stir fry, we might not want to use the outer layer, but you can. It has a lot of good nutrients. So you don't have to chop it very fine, just cutting it up anyway will do. I love recipes that are just chop and throw, where you don't have to worry about measuring anything, so you don't have to worry how much onion, how fine I chop. I'm just going to chop it up and throw it in. So we're just going to take a little bit of the ghee. And
to make sure that I don't cry too much.
Yeah. So, and these are red onions, but you can use any kind of onion. You can use a white onion. You can use leeks. We're not talking about the garlic and onion family, but we're talking about kind of a food as medicine. And our medicine is the greens, but if we were like a compounding pharmacy, we'd also think another key drug, another ingredient is garlic, onions. So they are also cleansing and have great for the immune system. So we can put our onion in now because our pan's hot, and then we're gonna just now this might look like a lot, but it's gonna cook up to barely anything. So we don't need to be afraid of that. So you can just throw the whole thing in. I think that's fine. Yeah. Yeah. And we've got it on low. Be careful I don't want you to get splattered with the oil here.
It smells very good.
So, okay. And then we're going to just stir it up. So normally you'd want to cook your onion until it softens. And yeah, we could probably put maybe a little, actually I think we're fine. Okay, so then we're going to put in our greens. So you can see there's a big mound here. And they're going to cook down to nothing. They're going to really shrivel up. If I were doing this at home, normally I would put a lot more onions. I would, really use that whole onion, and I love to use lots of garlic, so I would put in a lot of garlic as well. Would you like to keep stirring that and monitoring our temperature here? So it doesn't take very long to do a stir fry of greens. Any questions about stir frying greens or any other way of preparing them? Yes? How high? I aimed for a medium. You would never want to cook on high. Unfortunately, mistakenly, it was on high when we started. But usually a medium setting is good for this. And you can also put in spices. You could put nutmeg. You can add other things as well to it. Yes.
Is the garlic in there already?
So did we put it? Oh, I think we forgot the garlic. But normally, what we would do, I would put in like 2 or 3 cloves of. I would chop up a couple cloves of garlic. It makes it real, especially with kale. It's a great combination to use kale with garlic.
With onion?
We made it with onion.
But you put it together with the garlic?
Yeah,
and onion?
I always use an onion and garlic combination. Yeah.
Could you use other greens besides?
The question is, can you use other greens? Yes, absolutely. Collard greens, wonderful. Dandelion greens are great in a stir fry. Bok choy is wonderful. You could chop up other things. You could add in some cabbage. You can add in other things to it as well. You can put in broccoli or cauliflower. You could add, towards the end, you could add some parsley. Now I use the curly kale. You could also use the dinosaur kale as well as another option. The main thing that you want to do, again, is you tear it off the center stem. Now, the reason these are so good, what do they remind you of? So let's just look at these. You look at the thick trunk, and you can see it's like a tree. They're basically, it's a trunk. They're sturdy, and they just give you, lots of good energy. So how are we doing? Yeah,
really good.
this is great. Okay, what do you think? So, is it ready? Yeah, it looks like it's about done. So this is electric heat, which is a little bit different to manage. So once you turn it off, you're still cooking a bit. But basically, we've got them all sautéed. And yeah, and we'll just let that continue to cook, and then we'll have all you guys sample it. Let's get a plate, and we can have you try it, and then we'll have all of you, when you leave, be able to take a sample.
Sure.
So, all right. So, all right. So, what do you think? You can. So.
It's very good.
Okay. Have you had kale before, Michelle?
No.
All right.
It's good.
Okay. Do you think you would make kale?
This is very easy to do.
All right. So,
Doesn't take long.
great. Yeah. Think about it as different kind of spinach. You've all cooked with spinach, or you've had spinach salads and used spinach in many different ways. Think of this as the same. It's just another green, a healthier green than spinach. Well, this has been Feed Your Mind Wellness. I am Dr. Sandi. Our show today has been Greens, Glorious Greens. I want to thank our wonderful studio audience, and tune in again next month for another topic pertaining to wellness. Thanks.